All right, folks. Hey, it's Mike from Seattle here. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to do an interview with another individual also named Mike. This is Michael Zuber from California. He is an author of a book called One Rental at a Time. He is a very successful real estate investor in the California area, a frequent contributor to Graham Stephan's Facebook page. I love his posts. And he is also a content creator on YouTube. Lastly, he has recently left the rat race, something he's very proud of. I believe it was a little bit earlier this year, March or May of this year, that you left the rat race. Will you tell us about that, Michael?
February 1st. Yes. Financial freedom, the ability to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want is an awesome feeling. It took 15 years of hard work to get there, but it is well worth the investment.
I think that's probably what every current, future real estate investor wants is financial freedom. So congratulations, you've made it.
Thank you.
But we have a lot more to talk about other than just sitting here to brag about how you no longer have to work a 9 to 5. I'm jealous, a little jealous.
Yeah.
So, give us a little bit of a backstory on yourself in terms of, why don't you start with, when did you make the decision that you wanted financial freedom, and what did it mean to you at that time?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. If I'm really honest with myself and your viewers, financial freedom, quite frankly, wasn't my goal, right? If I rewind the clock and self-assess where we were, so our journey, as I mentioned, was 15 years in duration. But if I go a year back from that, it was a very painful time in the stock market, right? This is, call it around 2000, 2001. I had been making significant money day trading stocks, which it sounds stupid today, but frankly, everybody was day trading stocks. To put it in context of today, I'm sure you have lots of friends or viewers that were doing cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and all these others. Well, my generation was day trading stocks, and I was making 6 figures a year outside of my income day trading stocks.
Doesn't seem like a joke to me.
So I thought I was a genius.
Right.
And then just like how Bitcoin went from 26,000 or whatever it is to 3,000 or whatever it is, the pets.com and all these other things blew up, and I lost 6 figures. And, we went from thought we were the next Warren Buffett or George Soros or whoever you want to call the greatest investors, to calling ourselves idiots and how foolish can we be. And just lots of negative self-talk. So I remember at the time, YouTube wasn't around, these education platforms weren't around. So I drove to a bookstore out of desperation, because I knew there had to be a better way. I'm not an athlete. I'm not an inventor. I'm not a code writer, whatever. So there had to be something, and real estate sort of became it, and it became my myopic focus. We spent, years kind of researching it, getting in the know and figuring it out. And out of that experience came the notion of I had to do buy and hold. And then I made some decisions about whether it's going to be local or far away and all of that. But my intent was just to get one rental, and then I wanted the next one and the next one. And, we went through multiple phases of the real estate cycle, which we can talk about. But for me, it was, I'm going to get one. It's going to positively cash flow, and I'm going to go get another one. And then another one. And it wasn't financial freedom, even up to the last year, was never really a goal. Not working was a goal, that I'll admit. But did I think financial freedom? No, I really didn't think that.
Well, your story is awesome. And like you said, it's relatable in today's terms, even though maybe people aren't day trading stocks. I know Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and every other cryptocurrency people come up with has spanked a lot of people who were pretty hot back in December of 2017.
Absolutely. I've been there, just a different name.
Right. And only 1 year later, most of these cryptocurrencies have lost 80 to 90% of their value. So that's a story that resonates with people for certain. Yeah. Now, a couple quick questions, real quick, clarify. In a lot of your videos, which I have watched, you always refer to your investment team as we, or this is what we did. Are you referring to you and your wife?
Yes, absolutely. My wife, Olivia, gets huge credit for lots of things. First and foremost, I think I had her 100% support. And I think that's only obvious when I tell you the following story, right? So we spent a year looking in our local market. We live in the Silicon Valley, and frankly, it's never made sense to invest here. It didn't make sense in '03. It doesn't make sense in 18. It's like kind of like Seattle, right? It just doesn't make sense, right? It's just crazy.
Too pricey.
So, she gets credit A for having us look elsewhere. So we done all of our investing in Central California, a county called Fresno, 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back. So, we signed up for a lot of driving. But where I was going with this story is, after spending almost 16 or 17 months looking for something, we finally buy our first rental. It's 1818 Norris Drive, right? Just like you've got your first duplex, that was our first.
Okay.
But this is our story, right? So we buy it for 107. We spend a couple of dollars fixing it up, not much, call it a couple of grand. Our plan was to get 1,100 rent. We got 1,100 rent. Somebody moved in like a week later. A family moved in, right? A husband and wife. We felt like we had all that distaste from the .coms and all of that stuff were behind us, and we were on our way. But somewhere during that first month, that family dissolves. The wife takes off, never to be seen again.
Oh, geez.
And the husband decides to turn to alcohol to soothe his life, and decides not to pay rent anymore.
Right.
Decides to destroy the property. And in California, it can take 90 days to remove an evicted tenant. So our very first investment that we were so excited for, we ended up seeing that first deposit, that first month rent, and not another penny for almost 6 months.
Oh,
and we had what was a couple of grand to fix it up, turned into 10 or 15 grand. And I got to tell you, the reason I want to tell this story is because I think it is so imperative to have your significant other on board. Because I promise you this, if Olivia was at 100% on board, she would have forced us to sell it, said it's just the next .com craze. We're a bunch of idiots. Right. We're going to go do something else. And I wouldn't be retired today, nor would she. But she was bought in, and we dealt with it. Sure, we had some conversations, but we dealt with it. There was no other way. We moved forward and put another tenant in. Worked out great. They never were a problem. Cash flowed like crazy. We sold it for a huge profit, moved the money into apartment buildings. Life is good. But that one experience in our first rental, I believe would have crushed most investors. And it didn't crush us because of her.
Well, and that's actually, that kind of leads me into a great question. Back on being essentially spanked by the stock industry or stock trading, and then having such a huge high only to be followed by such a crazy low with your first investment. How do you stay mentally tough through all of that? How does someone now who's been killed by cryptocurrency or maybe experienced something, how do you keep yourself mentally above the fray and keep at it?
Well, the one thing I can say there is it was because real estate is real, right? We could see it, we could touch it, we could feel it, we could have an inspection, we could get an appraisal. It became something that wasn't this theory. Basically, what was for me the .com craze and day trading was trust me. I can relate it to cryptocurrency. Trust me, because people were telling me to buy all of it. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I have a $100,000 freaking experiment back in the day. I'm not doing that again. But I won't go for the trust me answer. Real estate is real. It's even in the beginning, I knew we bought a good deal, right? I knew there were 50 other houses around it that were worth about 107, right? So I had full faith in what we were doing. I had met and talked to lots of landlords by that point. I knew that my experience in my first rental, while horrible, was not normal. And I had faith that was true. And thankfully, over the 15 or 16 years we've been doing it, I know of only 2 instances where that kind of situation happened, where that somebody moved in, something happened, and then they needed to be evicted. And I've had thousands of tenants now.
Wow.
Now, it just happened to be the first one, and I think that would have crushed a lot of people, but it was just the faith that I'd done my research, the fact that I could see it, touch it, understand the value. It's just so different than day trading or .com stocks or crypto. I was just all in, and I was not looking at anything else.
And another question for you. So, you just mentioned how you've had thousands of tenants, which to me signifies that you must have either owned substantial number of properties or at least some larger properties.
Mm-hmm.
You had you purchased your first one 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're financially free. What happened in that big period in between? other
Sure.
than owning rentals, but have you also diversified into other areas of real estate investing, like wholesaling or anything like that? No. Okay.
No, I spent 15 years. Yeah. So we'll sort of answer. There's two questions in there. For 15 years, I was a buy and hold investor. I had a tech job. I worked in sales. I sold software for enterprise software companies. I was very good at what I did.
Okay.
So I was just a buy and hold person. I just was the next deal, right? I told people that I worked with, my job was to secure capital, which meant make commission and find the next deal. I never property managed. I never did a repair. I never did an inspection. None of that stuff. I traveled 100 days a year, 200,000 miles on an airplane, had a worldwide team. So I didn't have a lot of time, right? It's kind of crazy thinking about it. So I'm a morning person, as you've seen. So I get up early and still do. It drives Olivia crazy. She's a night person. So we have some interesting mornings. But where I'm going with that is I was disciplined enough to do my work in real estate from like 6 to 8 a.m. every day for 15 years.
Okay.
And, that's obviously continued with the videos and all the stuff I do now. But that's what allowed us to get there. So now the journey, how do we go from that house on Norris Drive to 175 units and financially free?
Is that what you
it
have
really
right
breaks?
now?
Yeah, I have 175 units. Yeah. So basically we invested through, I call it 4 phases. Phase 1, 2003 to 2008. What we did between kind of 2003 and 2007 is we bought 8 properties. We had 7 houses and 1 duplex.
Okay.
Rolling into 2008, the market's on fire, just like it is today.
Right.
Just like today.
Yeah.
We started to realize that we could not make another deal work. Like that first property I bought for 107, it was worth 265.
Holy smokes.
And oh, by the way, you know what the rent was? It was still 1,100.
Oh, wow.
So that just didn't make sense in my silly accounting brain, right? It's how can this make sense? So we ended up doing what's called a 1031 exchange.
Okay.
We sold those first 8. And we found this little niche, at least in our market, of 5-unit buildings to 20 unit.
Okay. That
were undervalued, right? That house on Norris Drive that rented for 1,100. It's crazy to say, but we sold that for 263 or 268. And we bought a 5-unit building for 223 that collected 150% more rent.
Wow. I mean, that's a no-brainer right there.
Right. So we went from 8 to 80 in 2008. Now what happens in 2008? The market crashes.
Right.
We look like geniuses because we sold everything like almost to the top.
Right. Profits.
Yeah. We maximized the profit. We moved it forward. We saved it. We did not know that was going to happen. We just knew we couldn't buy deal number 9. That was our luck. I can't buy deal number 9 and I'm not going to buy an alligator. Right. So,
right. Exactly.
Right. So we move everything. The market crashes. We go on our first pause. Right. I had been buying stuff at least every 6 months for whatever that is, 6 years, 8 years, whatever it is. So we take about a 6 or 9 month pause. The market rolls over. It's getting really bad now. It's like 2009, 10-ish. And stuff now is priced below 107. Remember the first house we bought in 03 was 107.
Right.
Stuff that's an equal quality is going for 90 grand and then 85 grand and then 80 grand. And so at some point we just jump in, we start buying everything we can. We start raising private money. We get hard money. We're just being as creative as we can to buy this. We buy 18-unit buildings and 10-unit buildings and 5-unit buildings. And pretty soon, next thing you know, we're at the trough and all these hedge funds come in and just the market changes. Probably like 2013. It was like night and day. It was like, where'd the market go?
Yeah.
We probably exit that time with roughly 150 units. The market starts to turn around. We add some more units as we get there, eventually getting to 175. Then the seller's market takes off again. And we go, you know what? It's like 2015, 16. We're like, we're done. At this point, we're both still employed. Olivia goes, you know what? I want to retire. I go, thumbs up. Good. You're out. I still love my job. I spend a couple of years just kicking it around in my job and cash flow keeps piling up. And then February of this year, some stuff happens at work and I'm like, I'm done. I'm out.
No need to be there anymore, right?
Yeah. You know what? I don't want to be here anymore. See you later.
You got to make that legendary call everyone dreams of, which is, no, thank you, not today. We'll see you never.
Yeah, I really don't like the way this is going. I think I'm done.
Okay, now hold on. Let me get you back to what you were talking about earlier. You had mentioned that there was this paradigm shift at some point in 2009 where you started saying, we need to buy everything. And you went from what you had previously been doing to where deals didn't make sense anymore because they got too overpriced. And now you're like, okay, it's time for us to buy. Now, at this point, when you started buying these properties, were you buying with a long-term buy and hold? I want to buy this because it'll be worth a lot later. Or were you making sure that it cash flowed from the minute that you purchased?
Everything I've ever done has been cash flow positive.
Okay.
Right? And the stuff we were buying were pretty rough because, if you were buying that time, you were buying empty properties that had been lost by an owner. Right. The owner probably was pissed off, and probably did some bad things to it. So, I like to say we were buying properties for near land value. And then we spent about 10 or 15 grand every time.
Right. Oh,
fixing drywall. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times we went into a house and somebody had taken a hammer to the granite countertop,
Screw the bank.
It was pretty bad. So, we bought everything we could. It was, and frankly, we didn't know how bad it would get. It kept getting worse. It got worse for like 18 months. And we're like, so we bought some stuff at 80, and then we bought some stuff at 70, and some stuff at 60, and some stuff at 50, and some stuff at 40. And then the market bounced, and it was like, oh, there goes the 40s. Oh, there goes the 60s. Yeah. So, we just jumped in big time.
Well, I mean, obviously, now hearing your story, so many people wish, they sit here and they say to themselves, man, I wish that we were in a crash. I mean, not that anyone wants it to crash and ruin people's lives, but they just would love to see prices drop. I know locally here in the Seattle area, as of September, we were actually 30% above the top 2007 peak at the previous bubble. That's where we were in September. And then our local market had a little miniature pop, and prices have dropped, but it's really only adjusted 10 or 11%. So I wouldn't call it a crash.
No, not yet. Yeah. I got to tell you, so I hear that all the time. I hear some version of, wow, weren't you lucky, or blah, 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 right? I hear that all the time. Well, here's the deal. I knew lots of people that had more money than I did in 2010 through 12, and that's really the period we're talking about.
Right.
But people were frightened, scared. And I got to tell you, if the Seattle market, just to use your market as an example, went on an 18-month fall, everybody who says they wish they had my stuff would be scared to death that they're going to lose their job or their wife will, and they'll do nothing.
Right.
I don't mean to, I'm not trying to sound mean. I want you to wake up. A lot of people say, oh, I wish there was a crash because I would buy all I can. No, you wouldn't, you freaking liar. You would sit on your ass and do nothing and hope your savings keeps you afloat until the market turns.
Yeah, exactly.
We decided that we knew the market. We were comfortable with the risks, and we went all in. And we were literally buying stuff out of the MLS. It was literally like picking diamonds up off the ground going, oh, nope, that's only 2 carats. We don't want that one. Oh, nope, 4 carats. Don't want that one. Oh, 10 carat. Oh, we'll take a 10 carat. We'll keep it. I mean, it was like that. And the only reason you could do that is because there were no buyers. So I'm sharing this experience. I was buying out of the MLS, and the MLS is open to everyone. Realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin, all this stuff. There were buyers nowhere. I was bidding on stuff that were priced less than the land value, and no one showed up.
Wow.
So I got to tell you, if a crash happens, there's going to be a lot of people that today are saying, I'd buy, and I'm here to tell you, no, you wouldn't. You're going to sit on your savings account. You're going to be frightened to death. So my advice for you is to get comfortable with risk. Know the market. Know what stuff rents for. And then you'll be comfortable like me, and you'll just take your shots.
Well, and actually that leads into my next question, which is fear is a very real thing. It can be a very powerful motivator in some cases. It can also be something that totally paralyzes you and keeps you from taking action.
Yeah.
And I know in my own personal experiences, one of the best ways to counter fear is with knowledge, is with experience and that steady hand. But with something like a market, whether it be a stock market or the real estate market, where there's no certainty, how do you confront that fear in a way that makes sense so that you can hopefully come out on top?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I got this from actually Gary V. Right, one of his conversations. He talked about in one of his videos, and I don't remember which one it was. Something we all should do is go to an old folks' home and talk to a bunch of 90-year-olds,
Right.
and basically you can see regret.
Right.
That's usually what you see, right? Is I regret this or that or whatever. What that means to me in the real estate world is I still see people today when I go speak or comments on the online regretting not even taking action during 2010 through 12, where they were literally diamonds on the
Right.
ground, to go back to the earlier example. So I believe you're either on the fear or the regret spectrum. And at least for me, I am more afraid, if that makes sense, of regret than fear. Right? Because I think you're motivated by one or the other, and I think one is more dominant. For me, it's absolutely regret. I mean, my greatest regret would have been saying, I wish I did more.
Right. Yeah.
All the real estate books I read, because again, I read books, were about people who, did the crash in Texas, or the one in Southern California, or the S&L crisis, savings and loan crisis. How many people said, I wish I bought more?
Right.
So that was always running through my head from 10 to 12 going, I wish I bought more. So I'm here today to say we bought every single deal that came across our plate with our cash, with hard money, with private money. Somehow, some way we got every deal done, 6 years after 12. So 2018, life's not so bad.
Well, I mean, obviously you've had tremendous success, and it sounds like it's very much due to your own hard work and to your own, I guess, intuition and smarts. But where did this come from? I mean, if we were to talk about, I know we talked about how you worked in tech, and it sounds like you kept that job all the way up until when you quit this year. But tell us a little bit more about the younger you. Did you go to college? Were you well educated? How did you form this, I guess, financial titan?
Yeah. So, I grew up in an environment which was pretty poor. I mean, one of my greatest, I have two memories from adolescence. I think I was 8 or 9 years old, and I remember finding a dime.
Okay.
And I went to my mom, and I told her, hey, I found a dime. This can help. And she goes, don't tell your father, which is crazy, right? Don't tell your dad. And go to 7-Eleven and buy you and your sister a Tootsie Roll, right? Or a couple of Tootsie Rolls, right? So, to say that money was around my household is just didn't happen. I remember having one baked potato a day for 30 days. That's all we could eat. Another time we had ramen noodles, right? And I smell ramen noodles now and throw up. Right? It just kills me. Those little spice packets. So it wasn't good. So money has been a motivator for me forever. I worked under the table at 12 in a dry cleaner, smelling that crazy crap. Okay. Had a job at 13 because I got an owner's permission over summer break. I put groceries in my family's refrigerator for a year and a half. So money was always a problem for me. So I had at least one job my entire life until February 1st of this year. Many times had 2 jobs. Got married at 19, which is ridiculously young.
But you made it work.
I made it work, yeah. And, I have an education, but I had to pay for it. I went to a junior college, and then I went and got an undergrad. I went back and got an MBA. Because for me, education, my thinking, higher education meant more money. Right. Not necessarily true in today's world, but that was who I was then.
Right.
And then what I did is I stumbled into a sales career after doing accounting and project management, moved into sales. And there's nothing more exciting and rewarding than being very good at sales. So I had a commission or a quota around my neck that ranged from, $3 to $5 million to $1 billion at different times in my career.
Okay.
And I was pretty darn good at what I did. So money showed up.
Wow. Well, I mean, again, it's impressive, and it's an inspiring story to hear. I've noticed as I've watched a lot of different either interviews that maybe you've done or different interviews of people online, there seems to be this trait of people starting at a young age and kind of being hungry from the time that they were kids. And it's obviously not lost on you.
Yeah.
A few more things I want to chat about.
Sure.
Before we talk about your new YouTube channel, which I love, personalize yourself even a little bit more. What hobbies do you have? What do you do for fun? How do you relax? Or are you doing business?
Yeah, one thing that is fixed in my schedule. You'll never get me between 9 and 10 a.m.
Okay.
Monday through Friday. I'm in a CrossFit class
Okay.
From 9 to 10 a.m. So I like changing up the workouts. I like the competitive aspects.
Right.
I'm an old man, clearly, compared to you. But so I could scale the workouts to something that I could do. But that keeps me fresh, right? Because most mornings I'm up at 5 a.m. So I've already had 3.5 hours of doing what I do all day, which is getting right with real estate, checking out the market, seeing what's going on, creating content. Then I'm gone, right? Turn off the phone, don't look at it. 8:45 to 10:15, not happening. Right? I don't even book anything till 11 because some of these workouts just kick my ass.
Right.
I'm useless for an hour. But then, I come back and I move forward. So that's something that is fixed in my schedule at least 6 days a week.
So CrossFit's how you relax, apparently.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess that if the beating you take from CrossFit is relaxing, it shows how much work real estate is.
Yeah, real estate's easy, man. No problem.
I've done CrossFit before, and it is definitely intense. You sweat a lot, and you can't walk very well.
Yeah, I did a leg workout today. I expect not to be able to walk down my stairs tomorrow.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, I mean, I know that I'm the kind of person, I really do think that having hobbies to keep you grounded is very important because it helps keep you, I guess, mentally healthy.
Sure.
But I wanted to, I don't know if you've had the chance to watch any of the videos on my channel. If you haven't, that's fine. But my channel, the reason I started making it was I wanted to document in real time what it takes to go from being somebody who doesn't have anything in terms of money or assets to being financially successful. I noticed as I watched all these different YouTube channels, all of these people were already successful and talking about what they did to get there. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we all want to know. But there was a lack in the space. There was a lack of someone documenting it in real time. And so what I've tried to bring the small amount of viewers that I have, hopefully one day it's more, is what it actually feels like while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And so I would like to hear from you, someone who's very experienced and knowledgeable. What is the hardest entry or barrier into real estate investing? How did you overcome it, or how do you recommend overcoming it?
That's a good question. So the good news for you. So a couple of things. So first, I have watched a couple of your videos, and I think you're authentic, and clearly your goal is what you just told me your goal was, because I had no idea, right, what your goal was for the channel. But they're in sync. There's a connection. So your thesis and what you're delivering, I'm very happy to tell you is authentic, and your channel's absolutely going to grow, because I could tell you of the people I talk to, more people want to hear your story than my story, because what you're going to get, right, this is going to happen, is more people are going to say these things about me. He got lucky, or he lives in the Silicon Valley, or you can't do that anymore, or whatever, right? You're going to be going, no, I just did this. I just got the key, right? I just did that. And oh, by the way, I'm going to go look at some more real estate, and I'm going to do that. So it's going to be like unquestioned, because you're in their world, you're at their level. So I promise you, keep at it. You're going to have a lot of fun, and be able to look back in a decade of what you've been able to do. It's going to be freaking awesome. So keep it up.
Well, I appreciate it.
So the hardest thing, the good news is you just did it. And the reason I reached out to you is because you had that picture, you sitting in the car with the key. I find that most people fall down not making the first deal. The first deal. Everything you do after this will be easier, I promise. But because you had the guts you did your homework, you put in the effort, you spent hundreds of hours, no doubt, before you made that decision.
Yes.
Then you made it, and you're confident. You're confident.
Right.
And then you'll just move forward. Getting to that level and pulling that trigger. I get 5 comments, texts, emails a week from people going, I've done all this work. I've done all this. I feel like I'm ready. I just can't pull the trigger. I can't pull the trigger. I can't pull the trigger. That's the hardest part. And you just did it. And I think that's going to allow you to get through that. And you're going to see the world's going to open up for you. And it's going to be how can I creatively get the second deal, right? Yeah. Is it owner financing? Is it whatever it is? I think you're about to have a lot more fun.
Well, and that's what I'm geared towards, is immediately moving on to the next step and keeping that momentum going.
Yes.
I think it's important. So, I mean, and this is, again, most of what I have given on my channel has either been just my thoughts on something or my opinions. And I
Yeah.
never try to claim that I'm some type of expert. But my thought was, I feel like the most difficult part is probably just getting started, going from the idea and the motivation videos or books and actually turning it into solid action and doing something with it. So I'm
We
glad
agree.
to hear that that's what you believe as well. And apparently it's supposed to be.
It's not even close. It's not even close. The second thing's not even close to that one. The first one, which you've done, huge. Awesome. Good for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go talk about your book real quick. I want to know when you wrote the book, what inspires anybody to just say, you know what, I'm going to write a book. Tell me about that process. I'm very interested.
Yeah. So again, right, books aren't used a lot these days, but what the reason I wrote one is I still remember spending all the time at bookstores, even Amazon.com, going, I want to find a book, a real estate book, about somebody who had a full-time job,
right?
Did real estate investing with a very demanding full-time job, and at some point retired financially free.
Okay.
They don't exist.
Right. Yeah.
The real estate books I found were either by a real estate agent, right, which is kind of in the field, and they kind of did this on the side and got there, or by some guru who you never know what they really did. But
exactly.
Like Grant Cardone, he's a salesperson, right?
Yes.
He sold education, and then he had so much cash he started buying rentals.
Right.
And then that became so rewarding that he created some more education and he bought more apartments, right?
Yes.
So he was just deploying capital.
Right.
He wasn't a real estate investor, right? So I guess he is a real estate investor, but that wasn't his intent, right?
Right.
I'm gonna have a full-time job. I'm going to spend off hours finding a deal. I'm going to keep my full-time job and I'm going to buy rentals. I never found that book. There was only one book I ever found. It was written by William Nickerson in 1950. It's a green book I bought on Amazon for like $300 because they're out of print. And he's long since passed away. It was about how I turned $1,000 into $1 million. And he talks about buying houses for $5,000 and $8,000. It just tells you how old the book is.
Right.
But that is the only book I ever found about a full-time employee. He worked at the phone company who worked a job, bought rentals, and ultimately retired. So I said, you know what? That's not okay. So I'm going to spend the first 6 weeks of being retired writing this book. So I wrote it. It's about 80 pages. It's a simple PDF. I send it to anybody who asks. I don't sell it.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay. I was just going to say, how do we get it? I would love a copy.
Yeah, you will get a copy
this year. Then you wrote that.
Yeah, I did. I wrote that this year, so you'll get a copy. I have since. So that's version 1. I have since collected feedback for a year, about 11 months. I'm now updating it, adding 2 more sections, and then ultimately my goal for next year is I will publish it on Amazon. But I'm still months away from being there. But I'm happy to give away the free version. It's a couple of sections. It's 80 pages. Yeah. It talks about my 15-year journey in detail. The free that Rev 1, I send to anyone who asks. I'll send it to you, and if anybody pings you, just send it on. It's just a PDF.
Sure. So, yeah, I will.
Go nuts.
It's interesting too because it's funny, as I had explained what my YouTube channel was about. My YouTube channel is sort of trying to be the same thing that it sounds like your book was about. How does a normal guy with a normal job go from being that normal guy to owning all of this property? And obviously you're far and away ahead of me, but I guess I aspire to be in your position one day.
You're starting at a great time. You'll be just fine. Don't rush it. You got to go. You got to pay your dues. You got to go through it. You'll be just fine. You'll get my book tonight. You'll see it documents it the best I could, right? For memory on everything.
Right.
You'll see the first 65 pages are all about the first 15 years. I close with like 21 core beliefs, something like that.
Okay. A couple questions left. I want to ask you 2 things. Number 1, what was your biggest success? Even if it's not real estate related, maybe it's marrying your wife. What was your biggest success? What was your biggest failure?
Wow. So biggest failure obviously was thinking that I could day trade stocks with almost no education.
That's
right.
Huh?
It was so profitable. You were so cocky. But when I step back, it's like, I never did any homework. I never did any research. How did I pick the stocks I bought? No idea. I did freaking no idea.
Really?
That was so stupid, arrogant. I can relate it to maybe it makes sense to relate it to crypto, right? There were so many Litecoin and all these other things coming out so fast and frivolous. People were buying them because they did this or that, or someone said this or that. I did the same thing, and it worked. It worked until it didn't work.
Right.
And to lose that kind of money to a guy who, as I shared earlier, has a problem with money, right? I always need more. I need to have that safety net. That hurt for a long time, right? That hurt. So that's certainly the biggest mistake. I think that, lots of successes. I'm a lucky individual, right? First being born in America, being born a white, you win the lottery, right? I was born healthy. I was, I'm in relatively good health at 46. So there's lots of things that I take for granted that in fairness are true blessings. So, I don't know. I think every day I wake up's a great day. So.
Well, I definitely agree there. I think gratitude and genuinely appreciating the blessings that we all have. I know a lot of times we get wrapped up in how do I get more? How do I expand? How do I scale? But it is good, especially just recently after Thanksgiving, maybe to take that step back and be appreciative for everything.
Totally.
The last thing I really want to chat about and get your thoughts on is your new, I guess maybe your new challenge, your YouTube channel. Because it's very, very unique. And I consider myself a YouTube connoisseur. I remember the days before YouTube. I have spent an inordinate amount of time on YouTube following all different types of video game posts, blogs, or workout blogs to self-help, everything. And your channel, what I love about it is it seems as if you've taken Gary V's advice on create as much free good content as possible, and then you will be rewarded by the fates. And so what I want you to talk about is how, because this is my opinion, how is it that somebody really actually truly has the altruism towards his own fellow man to just create content that is good, valuable content, push it out to anyone and everyone, and ask for nothing in return? Tell me about it.
Well, that sort of goes back to kind of who I am at my core. I like to believe. I've always believed throughout my life, whether, no matter what it was, whether it was dry cleaning at 12 years old or whatever, is if you do right by others, it comes back to you. And what this really boils down to is, you sort of talk about being financially free, but what they often don't tell you is there's a downside. So let's talk about that. So I retire or become financially free February 1st of 2018. The next 2 days, you could not get a smile off my face. I mean, it's like I'm freaking a clown. It's on, right? It's like tattoo. It's free. So, but what I now call that, I actually refer to that as a sugar high. Because what happened after that is I had 6 weeks of now what I will call a depression. And it got dark. Because I was 45 at the time, and I had been working since I was 12, at least one job. Right. Every day, right? I was working. And I had gotten so much of my ego and self-worth and whatever you want to call that, satisfied by my freaking job, that now it was ripped away. And it was ripped away by my choice. I get it. But it just wasn't there. So I had to do one of two things. I had to either A, go get a new job, even though I didn't need one. That was an option. Or I could find something else to throw my energy, passion in. So, the book came out of that passion. Okay, I can spend a month doing that, but that doesn't take very long. About 3 weeks into that, I'm like, you know what? There's a lot to say here, and there's a lot going on in the world, and I've never done YouTube. I had never even used YouTube. My first video I created, I'm like, I don't even know. I didn't even have an ID. I'm like, what the hell is this? Where all these freaking videos come from? I don't know. You're a connoisseur. I'm like a baby. I'm like, I know absolutely nothing. But all I knew is if I put out content that was honest, that represented who I was, I honestly didn't care if anybody watched. I was just going to be me, and I was going to tell it how it is. I was going to answer questions that came across. Still to this day, I'm the only one that responds to comments. It's my baby.
Right.
I now have changed it because I'm always learning, right? I don't know what to do. First I did, if you look at some of the earlier videos, most of them were PowerPoints because that's who I was. I'm a sales guy talking about PowerPoints. Those were not very well received.
People like to see you. You're the star.
Like to see me. I had no idea. Who wants to see this ugly guy at 6:30 in the morning or whatever? What the hell? But now now people told me, no, get behind the camera, stupid. Right. And then then I do videos like this. And they're like, hey, stupid, turn your phone this way. I'm like, oh, okay, I can turn my phone that way.
Yeah.
And then I start creating playlists. I create a real estate 101. I have the one I'm really proud of now is actually subscriber questions.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is one I've been watching on the frequent.
Yeah, they're like 3 to 5 minutes, and basically only my subscribers ask questions. All of those videos come from somebody. They're not mine. And then then I have the interviews, which you will see. Everybody, go check it out. I have his interview on.
He interviewed me. That's true. He did.
So I think those are taking off. So I'm having so much fun helping people. I'm getting more and more feedback that people are liking what I put out there. So I'm going to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. That one rental at a time YouTube channel means something to me. I am trying to get to 1,000. And as of this viewing, I think I'm like 704. So I need some help. I got like 26 days left or something, 27 days left. Help me. So, we'll see what happens. But I'm just going to keep doing it because I just believe that's a way to give back. So.
Well, a couple things. Number one, I will obviously post the link to your YouTube channel in the description of this video.
I don't know how to do that. That sounds hard.
I will take care of it.
Thank you.
One thing that I've noticed with YouTube, it seems like the growth is exponential. I know I didn't mention to you, I had another YouTube channel for a video game I used to play, and I ended up with like 8,000 subscribers and over 1 million views.
Oh my God.
I had to stop working on it because simply I just didn't want video games to take too much of my time. I like to work and focus, and I felt like it was drawing my time. But I feel like your content, not only is it very valuable, not only are you an expert about what you talk about, which I think are two of the key ingredients to being successful on YouTube, but the sincerity that comes through when you're talking, I mean, you can tell, and I don't mean any offense, but you can tell this is not some produced sales scheme that you would see from your Grant Cardones, who, when they answer a question, the answer is always, hey, buy my product.
Buy my stuff.
And invest with my syndicated company. And there's this course, with you, it's just, hey, this is the question, here's the answer, and have a great day. I mean, so that right there is invaluable. Cool. Because I think that the more people that find it, it's going to just take off. And I noticed, I first found your channel, it might have only been a week, and you've got up 100 or 150 subscribers in like the last week, and I'm sitting there amazed at it. So keep at it. It's been fantastic. Let me give you just a minute to close out, say whatever you want to say, any words of wisdom or advice, how people can get a hold of you and where they can send their questions.
Yeah, I would tell you the greatest thing I enjoy is helping new investors such as Mike, whether you have your first one or you don't have one yet. So I would ask you to subscribe to the channel and ask me questions. If you want to hear from somebody who's been there, done that, and you want the authentic answer, post a question, right? I will answer it within 48 hours, I promise. If there's ever any time I can't do it, I'll put a video out that says, hey, I'm in Miami on vacation. Nothing's going to happen. So I'll be totally upfront. But I love helping people get their first property or getting their second property. That's where the magic in this business happens. So keep at it. You keep at your channel, documenting what's going on. If some people want to ask me questions, or if you want to ask me questions, you know how to get a hold of me. It's best to leave them in the comments so I can answer them for everyone. Right. But I'm always there for you, Mike.
Well, again, it's been a pleasure talking with you tonight and interviewing you. I really appreciate you sharing your wealth of knowledge. This will be uploaded within the next day or so, and I guess we'll just have to catch you next time, Michael. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thank you.